A new mixed-income apartment building on the Upper West Side of Manhattan has sparked outrage. The developer had planned to construct a separate entrance for rent-subsidized tenants, what many are calling the poor door. City officials and the developer recently announced a few changes to the plan, but criticism continues to mount. Moses Gates is the Director of Planning and Community Development for the Association for Neighborhood and Housing Development here in New York, and he joins us in our New York studios. Welcome to Arise America, Moses. First of all, let's talk about a little bit of the zoning and the legality of this practice. I mean,
right.
It sounds awful. Is it as awful as it sounds?
Well, what it is really a technical workaround that comes from a few different programs being combined in some ways that I don't think they were really intended to be combined at the beginning. You have a zoning resolution that lets a building be built a lot bigger than it generally can be in exchange for an affordable component. And then you have a tax break program that does the same thing. What developers have learned how to do is to combine these two programs so that for the purposes of the zoning program, the building is considered two separate buildings, but for purposes of the tax abatement program, it's considered one building. So it's legal, but it's a real technical kind of workaround.
And let's be clear, there's a particular building that's being built right here in Midtown Manhattan on the upper side, well, it's actually on the Upper West Side, on 40 Riverside Building. And this came to the news because the entrance for the affordable housing tenants literally was in the alley, was it not?
Well, it's on a side street. It's a
we call
different
that an alley.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's definitely a different entrance on a different street that speaks to a sense of segregation between the luxury market rate component and the affordable housing component. And the two entrances are, of different qualities on different streets. It's not designed to look like we're both going into the same building at all.
And in this building, the way it's designed, and we'll talk a little bit because they've changed some of the plans, so the entrance for the affordable housing tenants is not quite as, I don't know what the right word is. What word would you give it? Not quite as affordable housing like. However, is it my understanding that there's no access between these two parts of the building?
That's correct. That's my understanding also, is for the purposes of the zoning program, they have to be two separate buildings, two separate elevators, two separate building systems, just right next to each other. So, yeah, that's my understanding, is there's not going to be really any interchange at all between the two buildings.
You already said that this gives the developer some tax relief, some tax abatement, so you can understand why they would do this. But how does this practice strike you?
Well, I mean, it's the kind of thing where you have to understand not just these kind of buildings, but all mixed income buildings. The developer comes out better than if they had built just luxury. It's us, the taxpayers, that are paying for this. We're paying for it through our tax abatement program. We're paying through it for allowing the developer to build a lot larger and make a lot more money. So the developer comes out ahead because of the taxpayer, and I think it's appropriate for the taxpayer to say, hey, we want the kind of buildings that speak to the kind of city we want in New York City, which I think is an integrated, more equal kind of city.
It would seem the developer's name is Extel Development Company. I don't know anything about that. Trump seems to develop a lot around here, but this is Extel.
Well, the most amazing thing is that Trump actually managed to build an integrated mixed-use development, one entrance, almost right down the block in his development in Riverside Park. So, if Donald Trump is on board with building kind of integrated mixed income housing, I think the rest of us can get on board too.
You better believe it. They seem to have changed the plan a little bit to make it more palatable. So what are they going to do?
Well, I think there's I'm not sure if it's this building or if it's a different building that's being done by Larry Silverstein. But they're doing things like letting all tenants access all building amenities, like everybody can go to the roof deck on the luxury building, things like that, to just try to make it more of a community, more of a mixed income community of the kind we're trying to envision building here in New York City, rather than having it be one door for one kind of folks and different door for a different kind of folks.
Finally, Moses, before I have to let you go, does this feel like segregation to you? Does this feel like laws need to address this kind of practice?
Well, I think it's the kind of thing that can get into that territory if we're not careful. I think that this is the kind of thing that needs to be nipped in the bud. And to the administration's credit, they are starting to look at changing some laws concerning the zoning resolution, hopefully maybe even the tax abatement program, that'll say when we give government support to build these kind of buildings, we want it to be an integrated development.
Yeah, indeed. Nothing can ever be good when it's called the poor door anyway.
True.
All right, Moses Gates, thank you so much for enlightening us on this. We do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And that's going to do it for us here at Arise America. Do stay tuned to Arise News for more updates on the killing of American journalist Steven Sotloff. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.